well, it is December 16th. You know what that means. Christmas romances. I did the same thing last year. That was a total flop. And I bought 2 of the books physically. Both of them are on my unhaul pile. One of them I liked fine. I think I rated it 3.5 stars. That was the gay one. And then there was one I rated 2 stars, and there was one that I rated 1 star. And if you know anything about me, I don't really rate things 1 star, but it was real bad. And that was a cowboy one. How dare they? So I'm doing it again. I just like reading holiday romances. In general, especially historical ones, which is why the historical one is longer. So I'm gonna go into what the books I'm gonna read. There's 3, and then I'm gonna read the first one. I'm gonna end with you giving the idea of the first one I'm gonna read, because I'm kind of in a little bit of a slump. So maybe the shortest one would be a good idea to just scroll through. Like, it's like 50 pages or something, so I can like read that in an hour. That will make me feel like I've achieved something. And maybe that will help me continue. But other than that, there's Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I know like nothing about this book, right? What I do know about this book is that I've seen a lot of people who have read Tessa Bailey's, like a lot of Tessa Bailey's, really dislike this book. I haven't seen anyone love this book. I've seen people like it, and I've seen people hate it. I've never seen anyone love it though, which makes sense because I think the average rating for it is like something like 3.6 or something. I think so. One of the booktubers I watch on a regular basis just started it in one of her vlogs recently, or read it in the beginning of the vlog. So once it got to that point, I stopped watching. I was like, okay, I'll finish this after I read the book. But she did go with the basic rundown, which from what I remember of her saying is about this girl who complains about a like window display for the shop, and she's accidentally complaining it to the owner or something. And so then romance? I don't know. Seems like a type of situation that would give me so much anxiety I would never find myself in. So, you know, interesting. The second one is probably one that the next one I'm gonna do is a collection of, I believe, 4 historical romances. I've done something like this before I did booktube. I read a 900-page like 15 book short story historical romance, holiday romances, right, collection, and I've read it. I read the whole thing. There was one with a talking cat. That is not a lie. It was a wild ride. Did not mind it. It was a lot of like indie authors and whatnot, and it was a good time. And so this is similar vein but much shorter. I think they're about 100 pages each. One of them is Tessa Dare. Here's the thing. I think most of the novellas I read by Tessa Dare I've not liked or found mid. So we'll see. I'm scared. I don't think I've read anything by the other authors on the list. I'm not sure. You can see the cover. It's whatever. I don't know what each of the stories are going to be about. I don't know anything about it. I'll talk about it when I read it. I just know it's 4 stories by 4 different authors. And that seems like an easy one. I can read like 1 a day, right? Right, makes sense. And then spend the last day just reading Window Shopping, right? But the last book is One Bed for Christmas, which is the 50-page book novella thing, short story. I think it's like a prequel novella to a whole entire series. All I know is there's One Bed for Christmas. I have not read the synopsis, I don't think, since I put it on my TBR who knows how long ago, but I have it on my Kindle. I'm gonna read it for this. This seems like a good excuse to read it. I'm gonna have a good time, right? I don't know anything else to say. I mean, I'll give you a rundown what it is when I read it so I can tell you what it is. But yeah, that's that. Hello, hi. I'm gonna make this fast because grandparents about to get here for dinner, and I'm wearing a nice shirt. Thanks to my sister. But I finished One Bed for Christmas. What was the plot of it? They are friends. They've been friends since college, freshman year. So like over a decade. He has always had a thing for her. It's winter in Canada, so she loses power at her place. So she stays at his place, and things happen. It was fun. It was fun. It was very repetitive, which sounds weird because it's like under 100 pages. But a scene would happen, and then the next chapter would be the other character explaining the scene again. Like, it'd be a whole entire scene where they're being domestic, right? And then the next chapter would be like a page, include a page of the other one being like, we have been so domestic recently and so not normal for us, but I miss this and blah, blah. Yeah, it's fun. And then eventually, so like, she gets really cold, so she asks him to cuddle her so that she can stay warm. And then the next night that happens, but then they bang, and then they couple. It was fine. I didn't mind the writing. The steamy scene was fine. 3 stars. The end. I read different news. That's clearly the important one, not the fact that I read The Holiday Swap in like 3 days. And I really liked it, like 4.5 stars. Would have been 5 stars, but the last chapter had a lot with Stella, talking with her, like there's like stuff with toxic friendship there. And I not the biggest fan how that aspect ended, right? And the big ending was meh, like the big gesture. Though the epilogue was fine. But those two weren't really my favorite thing. But like all around, loved it. So unexpected. We love Grumpy Sunshine, but she's the grumpy one. Okay. Anyways, I love Aiden with all my heart. It was just a good time, right? I don't think I ever said what it's about. I was right about how she is complaining about the window display, right? And he is like the manager, but also he owns the largest shares of the company, because it's like his family company and whatnot, right? And so he gives her like a trial basis to make a new window display. It's a really good job, so she's like hired full time, and there's a lot of stuff. There's also like a whole aspect where she just got out of prison and that thing, that stuff, and how they instantly start up a friendship, but they're also both into each other, but also like he doesn't want to start a relationship with her without knowing, like, she doesn't feel pressured because one, he's her boss, two, he gave her a job right out of prison, like all this stuff, so he doesn't want her to feel like she owes him, right? That whole aspect. Anyways, all around great time, 4.5 stars. And I guess I have to read more Tessa Bailey's. Yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna start the historical romance collection. Probably today. I'll try to read the first one. I know the first one's a Tessa Dare, so. Hi, I finished the first one, the Tessa Dare one, which is entitled, I wrote it down, Meet Me in Mayfair. It took me 3 days to read one. Maybe it was 2 days. Either way, too long, right? I rated the first one 3 stars, right? I guess what chance this is. Ow. So like, here's the thing. This is why I don't like most of Tessa Dare's novellas, right? Like her shorter works. I've read a few, one standalone. I think there's like 3 in Spindle Cove, plus this one, right? Here's the thing. She sets up, the premise is always very interesting. This one, it's that her family is going to be evicted starting new year, and so the only chance of them staying is if she marries rich. So she goes to this ball trying her best, ends up having to dance with the guy that is evicting them, but he doesn't know who she is, and so she spends the night trying to make him see the beauty of the area and whatnot, so he doesn't sell their house or take their house, right? After inheriting the house, or like the debts that her father had to his uncle that were considered forgiven, right? With his plan to like sell the house and demolish it or something like that, right? And so she plans to spend the night after some things happen. She very is not into him. And he's instantly into her because, like, she's nice and attractive. Oh my god. And honest. And then she spills wine on herself, and then they spend, like, the night hanging out. And she learns that he doesn't know that there's families living in the houses that he's kicking people out of. He assumes that they're just, like, warehouses. And it's, like, insinuated that her father went to him in person and, like, begged. But, like, it didn't click in his brain. I don't know. And so then he returns her home, and then eventually he learns, oh, actually, that's who you are. Not when he sees her father. You know, a man he's met who begged him to not sell his house so that his family wasn't homeless. Right. But when her younger sister brings it up, and he's all like, I was gonna marry you, but now you've lied to me, blah, 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 but then comes back and it's like, actually, you were in the right. I gotta switch hands again. All this stuff, right? It's whatever. And then they date. He courts her properly. They end up getting married at the end. He gives her the family deed, or the house deed, though. That's a thing that happens. Before he starts to court her, he's all like, I want to know if you want me for, like, me or this property. So he gives her the deed to the house that he can't take back, so that even if she turns him down, like, he can't take it back and all this stuff. Which that was nice. Here's the thing, as I was saying, there's always some premise like that. Very weird, wild, out there. Don't know how she comes up with so many of them, right? That put these two characters who wouldn't be together in any other situation, get together, are forced near each other, have to deal with each other for whatever reasons. Right? Very much thinking of the second Spindle Cove book, my favorite one, right? And then the thing is that you, like, they're always instantly attracted to each other. That just reminded me of the fact that she calls him, oh, I don't know the exact quote. I need to look up the exact quote. I wrote it down on Goodreads. It's hilarious when she first realizes who he is and they're dancing. Oh my god, so funny. His looks were less tufted velvet armchair and more country church bench. Solidly crafted and made to age well over decades. I started making a joke that I was going to start describing people I found attractive by random adjective and a random object. I think I described Cate Blanchett as something like majestic coat hanger. To the fish after I read that. Hilarious. Anyways, of course they instantly find attraction towards each other, but, like, they don't like the other one because preconceived notions or certain views, whatnot. And then over time throughout the book, they have to get to know each other because they're near each other, and then in the process of doing that, they fall in love. Right? And here's the thing. The process is the same in the novellas every single time. The issue is there's, like, a third of the space to do that. And most of that space is the setting up and all that weird premise stuff. And then there's, like, this much space to, like, make it believable. And not only that, he's, like, ready to marry her after one night, right? And not because he, like, made out with her on the floor of a park. Or park ground. That's what I'm trying to say. But, like, just because she never lies to him and she's so attractive and all this stuff, right? And she talks back to him. I don't know how the living situation would work because he loves living in the countryside and she loves living in the city. I think it said that they're going to spend every Christmas in the city, but still, damn. But then the last chapter is him returning and be like, actually, I love you. And if you take me back, I will court you properly. And we can end up together. And she's all like, okay. After, like, most of the book is that one day, right? Him realizing, leaving, running away, right? goes to talk to another lady who says, did like basically confirms everything she told him. And then he goes back to her Christmas Day with the deed, right? And then it cuts to months later in the epilogue, because wedding night, and so we can see them bang, but not. It's very. It's not closed door, but like nothing is blatantly said, right? Cool, whatever. Moving on. Like, the point that I'm trying to make is that it's supposed to be in between the last chapter and the epilogue. It's insinuated that money months passed where they courted, they get along, they got married. Yay, they're happy, right? Right? And then we see Sprinkles theme, right? But for me, Tessa Dares do not work without that 200 pages of them getting to know each other, and us as a reader, but also them as characters recognizing why they'd be good together, right? The moral of the story is I should never read a short Tessa Dare again. I should just read her normal length. Or whatnot. That's it. That's why I rated it 3 stars. It was fine. The next one is The Duke of Christmas Present by Sarah MacLean. None of these other authors I've read before. It's just Tessa Dare. So that's gonna be interesting. I'm 98% sure I have a good few Sarah MacLean's on my TBR, general TBR, probably. Oh yeah, I see 4 just scrolling through her homepage on Goodreads. So like, or author page on Goodreads, right? Oh my god, she's in Rhode Island. That's kind of close. So that's gonna be interesting. I'll talk to you about it when I finish it. I plan to read at least the second one, possibly the third one tonight, and then finishing off tomorrow, Christmas Eve, with the 4th one. I laughed because today is supposed to be the day it was originally going to go up, this vlog, but I changed it to make time to read all these. And then I thought, well, might as well make it go up on Christmas, because that's who I am. But yeah, that's currently the plan. That's what's happening. That's what I think about the first one. The end. Hello, I'm gonna make this update fast because it's Christmas Eve. And it's wearing a nice red shirt that I've never worn before. And also I need to finish this blog so that I can edit it today, because I'm not gonna want to edit it, speed edit tomorrow to upload it tomorrow, right? Like, anyways, the Sarah MacLean, The Duke of Christmas Present. There are people downstairs who are ignoring it. I was really struggling. I'm fine with Friends to Lovers. It's okay in my book. It's not one of my favorite tropes. It's very mid. Hit and miss, whatnot. I hate second chance romances. 98% of the time, I'm just not having a good time. You gotta really make me believe that whatever happened in the past that broke them up, is not gonna affect them again, or any of that stuff, and that they've grown as people to have a relationship again and be happy together. This book did not do that. Or novella. It was so angering. Okay, so like I gave it a chance. Around 25% through the novella, I was like, I'm not liking it. At that point, I had learned that his father was a drunk and abusive and died when he was really young, like when he was 18. And so he inherited the dukedom, but also all the debt that his father's drunken ways had put the family in, and also the responsibility of taking care of hundreds of employees and other people, right? And then there's his love interest who's like 2 years younger than him, who like they kind of had a fling, heavily hinted at that they totally did the deed, and they were probably gonna get married, but like she always wanted freedom and he always wanted to escape, and his 2 ways of escaping were school and her. But now he's stuck in the house in which he was abused his whole life, and he has no way of escape. His only way of escape is her, but she needs her freedom, and so she decides to instead leave him and travel the world. And now she's back 12 years later and engaged to another man, and it's a lot of people being really mean to him, like breaking into his house on Christmas Day, and like using all his food and all this stuff. and then laughing at him when he's all prickly because of them being really rude to him and making fun of him. Like, hear me out. None of this is hot to me. This is all anger inducing. If I was in the situation, if I was him, I would have had a panic attack within 5 minutes, right? He's better than me. But as a person reading it, I literally was crying angry tears. Like, it was not a good time. I was not liking it. Okay. From what I read of the synopsis after the fact, he plans to try to make her stay with him instead of marrying this new guy in the next day. And then they end up together, I assume? I don't know. I don't think he should end up with her because, you know, hear me out. She's horrible. She's not horrible. She's horrible to him. And it very much gave me, we're supposed to find it hot because he gets annoyed by it, but also he doesn't mind because he knows it's just her and he likes her. And he just pretends that he minds because he's trying to protect his heart from her breaking it again and all this stuff. And I'm just like, no, this is hot. It was anger inducing. I hated it. So around a third of the way through the novella, I DNF'd it and I moved on. There's no way this whole collection is gonna get over a 2.5. Let's be real. Right now sitting at a 2. I've started the Sophie Jordan. Surprisingly, do also have one of her books on my TBR. I had to scroll through a bit to find one because like all the first ones look like fantasy romances, and then once you get into the historical romances, you still gotta go a little bit further, but one of them is on my TBR. And this one is called Eris Alone, which is about I think she is one of 4 kids, maybe 6 kids, I don't know. And I believe because of some kind of like something happened in London, so they had to leave town for a bit or whatnot thing or happened, right? But there's a snowstorm coming, so like everyone hurries to leave. But everyone forgets to wake her up, and tell her that they're leaving or anything. She assumed it was supposed to be the next day and all this stuff. So now she's stuck in this very old house, alone. There's technically 2 servants still there because they are Scottish, they're from the area, right? Who are like, yeah, there's no way they can return until like the snow melts in March, so you know, and it's like before Christmas, so it's mid-December, right? And so that's the fun time, and so she's just alone and cold, and she's like, I like the silence and be able to do what I want to without having to deal with all my rambunctious siblings, but also like I'm lonely and also cold and alone, right? And so her only solace, what I've read of the synopsis, is to go to her next door neighbor who's like a prickly, cold shut-in of a duke. Adding bada bing, bada boom, things happen. The writing of it is fine so far. I don't mind it. And remember when I said I wanted this done by Christmas Day so that I have it all good to go and blah blah blah. Yeah. Anyways, I technically finished this book at 1 a.m. because we left that for me. Eris Alone. I was right. There's like this whole thing where she almost freezes to death, so they have to like cuddle naked, blah blah blah, and then slowly romance starts to happen. It was fine. I just didn't like the way that he treated her for most of the book. I didn't believe anything she said about herself for a good chunk of it, and whatnot. So I give it 2.5. Christmas in Central Park by Joanna Shupe. I think I have 2. I checked last night. I think I have 2 of her books on my TBR. Definitely gonna read them. This one, I don't know if it's supposed to be funny, but I laughed a lot. So this one, Rose Walker. I remember her name just because I remember both her names because they're both funny. Is the main character. She is a writer for an advice column, whatnot. The newspaper she works for, some things are happening, so a lot of people are getting fired, and then she's asked to go and talk to the owner. He's like the president of the company, right? And he's all like, hey, with all this stuff happening, the board of directors need to be confident in me or else I'm gonna lose my job, so I need you to do all this stuff. Here's the thing, for her advice column, she has like this fake identity. It's technically her name, but she says that she's a married woman of society because that's how people trust her more, right? Um, Despite the fact that all her advice is quality advice, right? And so he is all like, hey, I wanted to be at your house with your husband, all this stuff. She's not married, she lives in a boarding house. She's saving up money so that because her mom's like not doing well, and works as a maid, so like her mom can retire and she can take care of her mom and all this stuff. And he threatens to fire her like 3 times in the conversation, and so she's like no choice, and so she makes a plan with all of some of her mom's coworkers. A lot of them are like family to her, right? Because she grew up in that house. So like her closest friend is gonna be her fake husband. And then a bunch of servants are going to help out. Like she pays them, right? Because their day off or time off, right? So like he gives her like a large budget, and so she pays them. She like commandeers like an abandoned cat or like mansion. And they do a bunch of stuff. Also, they have like 5 days to do all this shit, right? They do all of it, and it goes off without a hitch for the most part. The whole time, the whole dinner party, he's like really into her, right? And but he's also like, she's supposed to be married, so he's like, I can't be with her because she's married. It's very funny. Also like the whole thing where like he also makes her make cookies in front of everyone and throws the fire again if she doesn't. And then like this is the part that's really funny to me. So like he'll do that, and then like a chapter later be thinking about how this dinner party has to happen without a hitch, or else the shareholders will fire him. And he's like, it's so hard to believe that they do something like, how can you just fire someone for something like that, and blah 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 blah, you know, that type of thing. He'll be like, integrity is very important to him and whatnot. But also for half the book, he's literally simping for this woman, or lusting for this woman, who he believes is married, right? A lot of stuff. It was very good. I laughed a lot up until like second to last chapter, maybe third to last chapter, end of that one, because that's when he learns the truth, and he instantly is like, no, I can't. He like instantly shuts down. He's just like, nope, can't talk to you ever again. You're fired. All this stuff, and then they also did the deed, right? And so he's all like, if you really like, he's all like, I'll give you the number of my secretary so like she can tell you the money, bill stuff for paying for everything for the wedding. And she's like, what? I don't want to marry a jackass who thinks that I did that just to marry him, like seriously, and all this stuff. She goes back to her mother. She does sneak in a thing for the advice column. Sneak in an edited version that basically says the truth about her and whatnot. And then this other guy who used to work there that he fired comes in to get the last of his stuff on like Christmas Day, and he's like, yeah, she's great and she's so good, and the whole entire fake identity thing was my idea because of the way society is, and you fired her for that. Like, that makes no sense. You forced her into this situation and then complained that she like didn't tell you the truth. Literally threatening to fire her if she doesn't throw a dinner party. I think it's mad that she didn't tell him the truth about the dinner party. Right? And everything went off without a hitch, by the way. I feel like I should mention this. And so he's all like, that's kind of dumb, and also like, you shouldn't just like marry her to make her your like lady and blah 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 blah. She's too smart for that, and like all this stuff, and she has her reasons, and they're valid reasons, and you just ignore that because you have to be right at all times and all this stuff. And then he realizes, oh yeah, okay. So he goes to where her mother and her best friend work to find her, and she's there, and he takes her on a walk, and he deeply apologizes, and they get engaged. It's fine. Right? So like that part after him learning the truth is very mid. The way that no one brought up the fact that he threatened to fire her twice, maybe 3 times over minor things. So really, you think that he wouldn't fire her over her having a fake identity when he learned he did fire her? Like, when she needs the job, like, that makes no sense, my dude. Also, I feel like I should mention the reason why I remember his name is because his name is Duke, his first name, and the whole premise of the collection is that it's the Dukes for Christmas, right? But he's not a Duke. He's just a rich man whose name is Duke. That was very funny. It was very funny. Minus the like last two-ish chapters. So I give it a 3.75, right? And if I average it out, ignoring the Duke of Christmas Present, the one that I DNF'd, it is just above a 3. So I give the whole thing 3 stars. The end. That's it. I love how window shopping is the iconic one from this vlog. Anyways, yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go. I did this to upload it right now. My arm is falling asleep, so I should end this off real fast, do the closing. Thumbnail made by the fish, linked below. Next video will be a vlog where I try to finish all my reading challenges for the year. Very scrambling for it. There will be 2 podcast episodes up this week because last week's was postponed, so that's a thing. So check that out if you want. And I think that's it. I should read more Tessa Bailey's.